riding the rhythm. But you get the lyrics, so you get an idea of what's on my mind this morning, eh? Venerating our bad men is nothing new. I grew up in the era of Wayne Sanderson Smith. Supercat's lyrics then depicted the awe and respect for the gangster. He was killed by his cronies after he escaped from prison. He notoriously invaded the Olympic Gardens police station, Turner, with Molotov cocktails to settle a score he had with the police over dissing his girlfriend. 3 police officers lost their lives at that time. Then there was Nathaniel Natty Morgan, a.k.a. the Butcher. Given his penchant to necklace his victims, he struck terror in the hearts of many Jamaicans. When he died, I remember hearing how he had a Bible in his back pocket. The legend around him, Tana, suggests his organizational skills were of note. He reigned in Riverton City. I grew up on the tales of Riggin. It was this 1960s Jamaican gangster that was the inspiration for our most celebrated film, The Harder They Come. I was enthralled by the tales of Dennis Copper Barth, who Keith Trinity Gardner, one of our most feared crime fighters, now attorney at law, described as intelligent, cool and calculated. Copper had roots in Central and East Kingston. Suffice it to say, we've had an irreverent history of producing real bad men. And ironically, these bad men seem to be products of the same communities. The same socioeconomic conditions. The tales often speak of men who are exceptional leaders, who did not complete school, who earned the respect and adoration and protection even of the communities from which they grew. The recent demise of Dog Paw and the stories surrounding his existence have prompted me to wonder, how do we end this legacy of creating a real bad man? Can we? Siobhan Campbell's What's on My Mind the other day on how we see our men is a good place to start in reconditioning how we see our men, I think. The role of our men and the importance of fatherhood, too. This, however, requires, listeners, social transformation. Social transformation includes dismantling our garrisons and dispensing with the way of life in the ghetto. Is there the political will to transform our garrisons? Can the beast of crime ever be tamed? Does the iron fist approach to fighting crime work? And I honestly have no answers. But what I do see are young men and women who are crying for help. No longer is Southside ablaze because of the antics of politicians. It's ablaze because of a different kind of politics. The politics of the turf. Who controls the turf controls the scarce resources that come in the form of extortion and prostitution from the minor, in quotation, crimes of theft and robbery. To my mind, effective social transformation can only be achieved if we ask those who hear the guns ablaze relentlessly and those who sleep in the zinc houses in the communities with basic social amenities, what do we need to do to help you? We cannot continue to impose our way of doing things on them. We must get them to trust the system to help them. But then, how can we renew trust in the state? Could our education system be reimagined to do so? Many of our young youths have elected not to return to school, and when you talk to them, they speak of the need to work. More than ever, we need to provide them with the options of learning a trade and being able to work. Could a reimagined education system improve trust in government? The outstanding education transformational report must address this. I wait to see it. But we also need listeners to see the bad men, and this is where I'm going to get the most flack this morning. We also need to see the bad men as humans. They are products of us. They are as human as the victims who've suffered by their hands. And we need to put aside our righteous indignation and accept that our classist and haughty ways have contributed to social exclusion. And for the last 30 years, treating criminals like dogs have not reduced our ability to create real bad men. And it's a good time, it's a very good time to think outside the box, to rethink our system of punishment and to push for one of rehabilitation. We have over 1,200 students who are not in school. That's 1,200 chances to prevent another dog paw. We need to reimagine our education and penal system so that it gives all students a fair chance and prisoners an opportunity to handle the issues that have contributed to their behavioral issues. So we need to rethink our penal situation. Students have been and are left behind because we've had a straitjacket, inflexible way of teaching. Prisoners reoffend because our prisons are focused more on being holding areas rather than focusing on how to help the prisoner not to reoffend. And this number does not include the students who've been expelled for behavioral issues who have not found their footing. To my mind, we really need to provide a more inclusive education system that contemplates and is prepared to deal with children who have emotional and behavioral challenges and encourage, of course, without a doubt, better parenting. Every corner we turn and every bush we go under, we find the same tale of poor parenting. But you can't parent good if you don't know how to parent. And I don't expect much empathy for our criminals. But until we change how we see them and accept that our current approach to punishment does not prevent crime, nothing not change. The odious legacy will continue. And ironically, those who are educated and steal millions are not seen with the same contempt and venom as those who've taken a life, albeit their actions may have caused many to lose a life. To my mind, this distinction in treatment fuels a young ghetto youth to feel invincible. If he can amass as much money as his uptown counterpart, he could very well escape the clutches of justice, he might think. Perhaps an iron fist approach to uptown financial gangsters could be part of the solution. I'm just saying. To my mind, how we treat and respond to what are known as garrisons or shanty towns must change. To improve some of the behavioral challenges of our most vulnerable youths, garrisons must be dismantled. We have passed the point of need to must. And this is where political capital must be spent in securing this. This is not listening to everybody. This is making sure that you utilize your political capital for the benefit of the country you serve. And a government and an opposition that manages to achieve this will have an elevated place in Jamaican history. Mr. Horace Levy and others have consistently echoed this, and so have Professors Harriot and Clayton. So I know I'm on good grounds. We will not cut this despicable legacy of creating a real bad man without dismantling garrisons. But all may not be lost. End of the spectrum are those who have managed to escape the lure of criminality. We recount what Dog Paw was like when Dana Macaulay intervened in his life. Not unlike the young man Michael Reed, whose viral video for help I shared with you. Reed, however, note the difference. Reed cried for help, and some of us listened. He was asked what can be done for him, and someone listened, and then more people listened. Reed's story reflects a young man from the belly of poverty, whose behavioral issues stemmed from not feeling wanted, not feeling loved, not having a family, not having an environment that nurtured him. And in the interview he gave to the Gleaner, he spoke about his struggle to be loved and fed. You hear that? To be fed. He broke into his mom's house because he was hungry. And that made him a criminal. To my mind, all these gangsters share a connection. They grew up in violence. They experienced poverty in an environment of clientelism, and were impacted by missing fathers and struggling mothers in our garrisons. So on my mind this morning, are we prepared to do more than talk and dismantle our garrisons? Are we prepared to meet our reality with our rhetoric? That's what's on my mind.